truth be told, every champion has felt it. Every president has felt it. Every king has felt it. Every lion has felt it. Every winner has felt it. Every soldier has felt it. Every victorious person has felt it. The urge to quit.
Crossroads, life's tolls, life goes. I gotta win. W my lockdown. You can't rewind.
Hey, how are you guys doing today? This is your host, Sonya, for the Remember Who You Are 222 podcast. I have my guest, Suzy, here with us today. How are you doing today, Suzy?
I'm excellent. Thank you, Sonya. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear your story. And just to introduce Suzy a little bit, so she's actually a somatic psychotherapist who specializes in stress and trauma. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself, like what's your story and how you came into doing what you do now?
Okay, so I thought I would go right back because growing up, I grew up in a Christian household. We went to church regularly. But when I was about 15 or 16, my parents were going through a rough trot in their relationship. And I remember clearly having this thought, what would have happened to me if they'd never got together? And it came as clear as anything. I would still be here. I might be in a different body and have different family, but the me who is me deep inside, she was coming to earth no matter what. So it sort of was like this underpinning behind everything I did. And then I went and lived in my head and got a career in IT and totally lived from my head and gradually dissociated more and more from my emotions and my bodies through a few crises and things like that. When I was 28, I learned to read tarot cards. And I was treating them more as just follow what it says on the card and just do that. But I found sometimes some information would just come through. And it was amazingly accurate. And it used to blow everyone away, me included. But again, I kept in my head-based approach until I hit 40 to 42. And I was starting to question myself. I was running a small IT consultancy, and I had an important meeting to negotiate a contract in Sydney the next morning. And as I was heading to bed about 10 p.m, the late night news was on, and it said, the plane has just flown into one of the Twin Towers. And I'm thinking, what are they? I had no idea. By the time I got up in the morning, I went and put the bins out, came back in, and it was showing the second plane, and I went, I cannot watch this. I have to go to bed because I've got to do this work tomorrow. Got up in the morning, and as I'm driving into Sydney, the second tower fell down. I'm bawling on my way in because it was just horrific. And I had to choose, do I go over Sydney Harbour Bridge or do I go through the tunnel? What if this is a global thing, not just focused on the US? It was like there was risks. And as I'm driving over the bridge, every time I looked into, everyone was crying. And I remember going, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Pardon me. For the next couple of years, I went into a depression myself. And I went and became a professional angel card reader. And I was doing that as well as my IT. But some of the people that were coming to me needed more than spiritual help or this other worldly help. It did never do any harm. So I thought, I need some counselling skills or something. And it was amazing. Synchronistically, this holistic psychotherapy course turned up in the next town. And it's now a recognised university degree. But it was just amazing, and it taught me to come from my heart and to be present, and it just opened up this whole world. So I stepped into somatic psychotherapy. And one of the things I noticed, and I'm going to show you this little diagram that I put together, is we've come out of spirit into this world, and we put on a physical body. And then we learned started to learn our emotional selves, and our intellect came last. But it's like this never-ending spiral that we go through and we learn on each of these leagues. So I had stuck in the intellectual, and now I had to come back and do spiritual and physical and emotional learnings. And I still keep going round and around this spiral. So it's like it's this never-ending spiral of learning. It's part of why we're here. And one of the big things I've learned is that our amygdala, which is there to keep us safe, neuroscientists call it the smoke detector. It's using our senses all the time to say, am I safe? Am I safe? Okay, and it's using our 5 primary senses.
Okay, baby.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Go.
Why is it blue?
Okay. Why are your lips blue, baby?
It's green.
Why is it green? What'd you put on your lips?
I put
Why is your lips green? Okay.
Yeah. Who knows?
Oh, elegance too. Yeah.
Yep. So one of the things I realised is that we're constantly using these senses, our 5 primary senses, hearing, sight, smell, taste and touch, all of our subtle senses, sense of balance, sense of time, sense of gravity, sense of spatial awareness. And we're using those all the time, or the amygdala is using those all the time to assess, am I safe? But we also have a set of psychic senses, for want of a better name. So clairvoyance is clear seeing, claircognizance is clear knowing, but the feeling and all sorts.
Clear sentient. That's what I am.
Yeah. Claircognizance, clairsentience, yes. And we also have smell, and it doesn't have a clear name that I know of. But our system is using all of those. Now, as humans, we stopped relying on our psychic senses as we developed our clever front brain. And it's interesting that people who have been through trauma often start to trust their psychic senses more than their other senses, because those other senses let them down in a time of trauma. Okay, so it's not bad that we use them. And most animals are using them all the time. There's a fabulous researcher called Rupert Sheldrake from the UK, and he does a lot of work. His first book I purchased was called The Sense of Being Stared At. But he looks at animals and how they use all this sense of everything. Anyhow, so from that somatic psychotherapy course, I found I have a deep and abiding love and interest in stress and trauma and understanding it. Because if you think about it, we've come out of being spiritual beings, we densified into this body, but we're meant to be this pulsating organism. Our blood flow and the seasons and everything we respond to as a pulsation. But what stress and trauma do is they gradually densify our body even more until we are stuck. And so we have to get that body back into its pulsating self. So we know that we go through fight and flight, which is very active, but if they don't work, we go into a deep freeze response. So, and that's all locked in our body. So to come out of it, we have to come out doing some physical responses, particularly tremoring responses. And it turns out it was the 1990s when they studied because everything we know about stress and trauma comes from studying guys who went to war. And by the 1980s, we realised every soldier gets PTSD. And they turned and looked at the general population. They went, oh, my goodness, humans are designed to deal with stress and trauma, and PTSD is everywhere. And they looked at our humanised animals. They're also prone to PTSD because we tend to cut off their tremoring process, as it turns out. But when they looked at animals in the wild, they never get PTSD. So if you think about lions and antelopes out on the plains in Africa, you'll see them drinking at the same water hole. If that was us, we'd be going, I can't drink at that water hole because that's the lion who chased me last week and that's the one from the week before.
Yeah.
because we hold it, because we've stopped it. We activated our resources to deal with stress.
Mhm.
And then we went, yeah, no, I'm fine. Our clever brain took over and said that's past now. And we cannot logic our way out of stress and trauma. We can think we've processed emotions. We can think a whole bunch of things, but our body is still holding it.
Mhm.
So it turns out this tremoring process is the greatest spiritual practice you can do, but because it helps you to learn and heal and grow.
Mhm. Yeah. So would you be able to explain this tremoring process a little bit more?
Okay, sure. So when they looked at, let's say, a herd of antelope out on the African plains,
Mhm.
eating, having babies, living their best antelope life. But along comes a lioness who needs to feed her family.
Mhm.
So she starts to chase these antelopes. They're prey animals. So they're going to flee first, whichever action has the least energy. As
Mhm.
predator animals, we are prone to fighting first. Even if it's simply arguing, we're going to argue before we flee. But anyway, these antelopes start fleeing the lioness, okay? And at some point, she stops chasing the main herd. They don't immediately stop. They keep going to wear off all the resources they've produced.
Mhm.
And when they've done enough of that, then they find somewhere safe, and every last one of them does this nervous flickery down
Oh,
through their body. Okay? And so
wow.
every animal in the wild they looked at
That's
does this.
interesting. Yeah.
We have pathologized it. We go, oh, someone's in shock. Oh, and they're tremoring. The tremor is part of the shock. No, we're now separating the tremor out from the shock. The shock could take us down and kill us. The tremoring is trying to keep our organism present. So if you think of shivering is a form of neurogenic tremor. And it's my body saying, I'm too cold. Could you put on more clothing or get into a warmer environment? And we don't pathologize that. But if I get up to speak, my hand starts to shake, I'll lock it off on the lectern. And I've had my knees go like cartoon characters, okay? And I lock them off, and then my voice has gone like this, because tremoring is on a sliding scale. Up this end, it's life expressing itself. So if your child starts a lovely big laugh and giggle, you can't help but join in with him. Because
That's true.
okay? Or someone doing a big open belly laugh. So that laugh
just makes you laugh.
yes, and you can't help but join in. Orgasm is a form of tremoring. All sorts of things where life is expressing itself involves this tremoring. Down the other end of this sliding scale on tremoring is I'm uncomfortable and my system is trying to put me into a functional freeze state. So they go fight, flight, freeze. And being the amazing human beings we are, we've turned that into a superpower. We can be in a freeze response, but still do stuff. I've got to go to work and put food on the table and pay the rent.
Yeah.
When I don't feel like it, I put myself in a functional freeze and off I go.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay? So we are supremely superpowered in functional freeze. Okay, so animals in the wild don't do that. But anyway, so my system will give me some of this discomfort tremor down this end. So it's the nervous giggle, it's the inappropriate laughter, and it's trying to put me into this functional freeze so I can do what I need to do. So when I do this presentation in front of a couple of hundred people, my nervous system's saying, could you run screaming from this stage or maybe don't? And I go, no, I really want to present this information. So it gives me the tremors until this calmness comes on, and then I'm operating from my emergency procedure space because I know this topic really well. I give a fabulous presentation, but when I go home, I have to shake it out. I have to allow the tremors, okay? So it could be by engaging some really healthy laughter with a good comedian. So some comedians activate your laughter down this end. Think of funniest home videos. They're not. We will all laugh, but it's more of a contracted laugh as we go, oh, thank goodness that's not me or my child. Okay? Whereas in the middle, if I find a good comedian who makes me engage in that more open laughter, which is usually observational humour. I don't know if you know the British comedian Michael McIntyre. He's a fabulous example of a good comedian, okay, with the open laughter, not the closed laughter.
Yeah, I have heard of him.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And the other one, the other way, other than laughter, is crying. So the sobby, ugly cry, we'll do it into our pillow and it comes in waves.
Yeah.
And that first wave is uncontrollable and it's awful because you can hardly breathe. Then it seems to ease off and you go, oh, thank goodness I can breathe again. But then it comes back in a slightly smaller wave until you hear right at the end.
Yeah.
You just completed a body-based tremor process and you may not know what it was about, but your system has just downregulated itself on that topic. And we now say, so Peter Levine put a book together called Waking the Tiger. And he has a whole chapter in there on trauma-proofing your kids. You have a 3-year-old. So he's in the middle of that. He's learning to experience big emotions, but he doesn't know how to process them well yet. And he will burst into tears. If you aren't comfortable with sitting with him, you'll want to rush in and give him a hug and say, no, don't cry, sweetheart. It's okay. I will make it all better. Look, distract over here. We'll cut off his tremoring process. But if we can stay comfortable with our child's, that's part of their neurogenic tremor process. If we sit next to them and say, don't hug them and stop it, but we say, it's okay. You're allowed to cry. And we don't try and do anything else till we hear that. And then we say, Mama's here. Do you need a hug? Okay. And that's when you offer the comfort and the hug. And then you can rationalise. No, you weren't allowed to run out onto that busy road because you could be hit by a car. Or, no, we can't buy that toy at the shop today. Or and we use the rationalisation at the end. But you let him process that process through his sobby, ugly crying. Does that make sense?
No, it definitely does make sense. And I've been learning a lot of different things. And I have taught him to like name his emotions.
Yep.
I've taught him that it's okay to be angry and what to do if you're angry.
Yep.
I've taught him.
This big one is letting him tremor it out.
Letting him
is part of that tremor. But there's also a few techniques we can do because sometimes that sobby ugly cry it's a lot of work. So being able to activate our body's neurogenic tremor in a safe, controlled way, in a safe, controlled environment is one of the things I teach people. And over time, so it's like we've got a reserve tank for stress. Every time we get stressed, we add a bit more resources into this tank. When we're young, it's down here and we've got this much resilience. But as we age and we're building up, our resilience is getting less. By the time we're 40, most of us are up to here. And then we're stuck. We're either overwhelmed or we're living via our coping mechanisms, which may or may not be healthy. If I can consistently complete my body-based stress process, I can unwind this stress and trauma out of my body. Or for your 3-year-old, imagine if you can teach him how to do this or allow him to do it naturally, he'll never get up to there. And the other important thing to remember is in the 1970s, because I remember it shocked the life out of me, the average life expectancy here in Australia for men was 40 to 50 years old and women 50 to 60. That seemed incredibly short because my parents were heading into that age group. We've actually doubled it now where it's 82 for men and 89 for women, which is one of the highest life expectancies in the world. But if by the time I'm 40, my nervous system, my body, I have no resilience left, that's going to be a pretty awful next 40 years. So this to me is the other reason why we all need to learn to downregulate our nervous system so that we can stay vital and loving and present and aware and be the amazing human beings we're meant to be. And so it fits in perfectly that we have a midlife crisis around that time saying, do you think you want to learn some of this? Do you think it's time to start unwinding this? Personally, I'd like to see this all taught in schools because I don't think we can get to that.
Mom,
Right. I will say, I do think it's interesting right now that even like schools that I'm looking for my son, they're starting to teach like social emotional learning. And
Yes.
starting to be more, I guess, lenient of kids needing to, calm down and do certain things like that. So I have noticed,
which is great, and it's about time. Yeah. However, I still say beware because we talk about a top-down approach or a bottom-up approach. So even things like belly breathing and mindfulness, they're all techniques. I have to activate my front brain and say, I need to do this, and I tell my body what to do. Bottom-up approach is saying there is knowledge within my body. How about my front brain learns to listen to that inherent knowledge because the body will say, I just want to shake it out. And so we see the tremoring as a bottom-up approach that provides, instead of having to learn to be kind, compassionate, caring, that's our natural human being state. And it brings us back to that state.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Everywhere.
That definitely makes a lot of sense, especially because of the work that I've done on myself, and allowing myself to feel emotions when I used to suppress them. It's like I feel completely different now and more able to feel compassion. And
because when we're up there, we cannot feel those things. We can make the voice that we're feeling things, but we're not. Yeah. And so to be able to live in that space, and it is hard work.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work.
We're going to get stress coming at us till the day we die. And some of us seem to have chosen paths that are much more stressful than others have. And that's sort of like, well, I've obviously come here with a reason because we all have a purpose to come. What's my role for being here? And and yours sounds like it's to help people heal and grow as well.
Yeah, that's definitely something I feel is my purpose was to basically choose to go through all of these things. My life has been pretty crazy. I went through basically just a childhood that was like emotionally, physically abusive. And then, after not really feeling like I had a home, I joined the Marine Corps out of all branches.
But the military always makes the whole group feel like a family. And that's what it gives a lot of people with background trauma.
Yeah. We actually used to joke about the Marine Corps being Uncle Sam's misguided children. But you can tell it is a lot of people that were looking for a family. And
yes, absolutely. Yeah. And even if you think about it, you'll see my website name is From Surviving to Thriving. Because if you think about it, we've come out of thousands of years of survival. Kings didn't get to be kings because they were nice. They were traumatized themselves and inflicted trauma on others as they said, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine, it's all mine.
Yeah.
Okay? And so the general population learnt to survive. Suck it up, sweetheart. Just move on. And you know what? By the time you get to really feeling this, you'll be dead anyway. And so we learned as part of our survival technique, if people weren't coping, we'd shun them. You're weak. Like even in the military particularly, that, as I say, everything we know about stress and trauma came from studying men who went, people who went to war.
Yeah.
And those that showed signs of PTSD in the early days were blamed. You're broken, you're useless, you're hopeless, you're a no-hoper, you're a coward. In World War I, the doctors at the front line were starting to diagnose, they called it shell shock at the time.
Mm.
And the British powers that be wrote out to them saying, you are not allowed to diagnose this shell shock. It doesn't exist. They're just bad soldiers. If they were good soldiers, this wouldn't be happening to them.
Mm.
And it took us another 50 years into the 1980s
Right.
to be able to go, wow, we can't blame the person. It happens to everybody.
Yeah.
And even now, like someone will have trauma or stress and people will pay it lip service for a day or whatever, and then they go, aren't you over that yet?
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
definitely say I just got out of the Marine Corps in January 2024, and I was in for 14 years. So it was, I will say it has evolved the time that I was in. But it still was very, especially when I first went in, it was very like, suck it up. Like you shouldn't be going to medical for anything. You should be able to push through it.
And don't you dare go and see a psychotherapist.
Yeah, exactly. It was like
the novel Catch-22. It was like,
yeah. I will say over time it started getting more and more prevalent, like, hey, go get help, report things if somebody's doing wrong. It did start to get a little more prevalent. And even now when I was getting out, there was Marines actually complaining that they wanted to put the word empathy in our core values. Yes. And there was Marines, they were like, we're getting
we want no empathy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, no.
Empathy, you can only do that if you're thriving.
Yeah.
And really our military has to have people who are in a survival model so that they will go out and do the fighting. That if you're in a thriving model, you go, yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. No,
but I still say I want to access my coping mechanisms and go and do the hard things because we have to have coping mechanisms. We have to be able to sit with discomfort. But then when I come home or when I'm in a safe space, I want to down-regulate my nervous system so I can come back into a thriving model of myself. Because that was one thing that started to happen. And there's a lot of adults in their 20s now who aren't game enough to go and do anything because they're not already an expert at it. And so we miss the whole, no, you guys need coping mechanisms as well. You've got to be able to sit with discomfort and go and do the hard stuff. You've got to be able to suck it up. But then when you're safe again, let it go. Let it go out of your body. So it's this, the thriving includes the surviving. We don't just chuck the survival away, but we don't just do survival because that's not good for us.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. No, I do remember I actually was working for the Marines. I was working for the Wounded Warriors as a civilian before I ended up quitting there to become an entrepreneur. But even there, they are a lot more. I feel like at the Wounded Warrior Battalion, they have a lot of things for those Marines. Like they have to go to these like. They actually are teaching them like meditation, breath work.
Good.
Different things like that. So I thought it was good for those Marines.
Absolutely. But again, that's a top-down approach, which can fail.
Yeah.
Okay, over time. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So overwhelmed, we can't access them. Yeah. But
Yeah.
It's still better than nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, I guess for the Marine Corps,
that's huge.
Yeah. It's doing something, but
I have a feeling that the military aren't doing that at this point. They may be, but I somehow don't think so.
Yeah. No, I understand.
Yeah.
But okay. So I guess what are some things that you we were talking earlier and you were saying that there's different senses. How have you been able to kind of I guess like the tremoring is like a spiritual practice, but do you have other?
Well, it's physical as well.
Yeah, physical. Yeah, physical.
Yeah. And it then has an upcoming. It helps with our emotions, and it absolutely helps our brain to calm down.
I've started to realize a lot of things just doing the major that I'm in right now in consciousness. I've started to realize a lot of things are spiritual practices that we didn't realize. Like I had always been very athletic, and sports and pushing myself past my limits was actually like my therapy. It was what kept me sane.
Yes, because you're wearing off all the stress hormone, all the stress resources. It's not just the hormones. Our body does so much every time our amygdala gets triggered. So doing all that amazing body work absolutely was part of your spiritual practice. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been interesting, like doing the things that I've always done, except now even becoming more present with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, I thought I'd also throw in there's another modality I use. So first thing, it's getting people empowered and embodied. And that's my first course that's up online at the moment, called From Stress to Bliss, because we've got to reduce the stress held in our body and we've got to increase our bliss. And if you think about it, we've got an amygdala designed to detect danger. Right from day go, we've got this, is there danger? Am I safe? But we have no structure in our brain designed to look for the good in life. We might happen into it and we might experience it, but there's nothing designed to go out there and detect it. We train ourselves to regularly go and look at the sunset, engage with nature, enjoy the child, pet the dog, all of those things that are really good for us, and to really be present in those experiences. Okay, so reducing the stress and increasing the bliss. If we just increase the bliss, eventually the stress will trump it.
Yeah.
Okay? So we have to downregulate the nervous system and increase the bliss level.
That's true. We literally have to train ourselves to.
Yeah. And if we let ourselves be ruled by that amygdala and our front brain just pokes the amygdala, we get overwhelmed very quickly. And it does us all sorts of damage at a cellular level, at a DNA level. And so we've got to keep down-regulating and increasing the bliss. Okay. But some of the trauma we get, so we know we as human beings can have our own trauma. But we also know we can inherit trauma. So if you think about parenting styles, if I'm coming at parenting as a traumatized person, I'm going to traumatize my children because I don't have enough resources to not hand my trauma on. But we also know now there's a field of study called epigenetics that says we hand trauma down through our DNA, which is quite scary. And they found this by studying particularly Jewish people post the Holocaust. The first generation traumatized, absolutely 100%. Their children were also showing similar trauma symptoms. Okay, parenting style. But then the grandchildren were also showing a lot of trauma symptoms, even though everyone else had done a lot of learning and was not handing on their trauma. So they started to look, and they've found in animals it happens as well. There's I think there's a squirrel in northern Canada that still reacts as though leopards are around. It's something like that. And there haven't been leopards in Canada for 3 million years. But that's something in that physiological response that's been handed down in the genetics. Okay, so with us, they know that, let's say a pregnant woman is starving and for whatever reason, and she can change the DNA of her unborn child to put on weight when it's under stress. Okay, so if you think about a developing fetus, up to 12 weeks, they all have gonads, which is neither male nor female. And at 12 weeks, they either rise up and become ovaries or go down and become testes or a mix. But at that point, if it's a baby girl, she's going to get every egg in her ovaries that she's going to have for the rest of her life at 13 weeks of age in utero. So if that mother is stressed, she can change the eggs of that unborn child that all or most of the eggs will express this put on weight under stress response or similar. And for men, it happens with sperm production. So if men aren't physically healthy or they're under a lot of stress, they can change the DNA through the sperm. Yeah, we've got to look at our trauma, but also what's coming down through our line. Where's the trauma there? And the third one, which is another modality I use, is called systemic constellations. And it uses everything with field theory. And again, if I come back to Rupert Sheldrake, I mentioned earlier, he was working in the 60s and looking at soldiers, or particularly soldiers who'd lost limbs.
Okay.
And he was looking at phantom limb theory. And he created this expression that we have an anthropomorphic field, so a human-shaped field of energy that our physical body grows into. Okay? And because he said, what makes an acorn seed grow into an oak tree? And they all look the same. Or a horse grow into a horse. And even if you look at all the mammals, when there's a sperm and an egg, in those early days, you can't tell what mammal it is. But horses will all get a horse shape, dogs will all get a dog shape, and humans all get a human shape. And so he's been looking at these fields of energy since then. And there's now a school of thought that says, I have my field of energy, you have yours. When we enter into relationship, we create this relationship field of energy. And it's why when we break up from a spouse, it's really hard. And particularly now you've got a child, so you have a relationship field with your child. But you and the child's father became a family, and you've got this energy that everyone's working in. So constellation work looks at how does trauma come down through fields of energy as well, and it does. So it's usually traumas, griefs, and secrets get handed down through the field of the family.
Yeah.
So it's complex, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Because even I realized some of the things that I've reacted with my son that came from my mother, basically. And I've had to stop myself and realize it. And, you know, I've even like apologized to him. Like, it's not your fault. This is, you know.
Yeah.
He's only 3, so there's only so much. I mean, I try and explain things to him, but
don't use too much logic. Put it in games and play.
Games and play.
Make it up with a story.
Yeah.
There was a little chook, and it had this, and then that happened, and tell it as a story. Because his front brain doesn't start its massive development until he's about 7 or 8.
Yeah. Okay.
So he learns through games and stories. Yeah.
They do better with I like to make up songs for him.
Perfect. Yeah. No, that's fabulous. Yeah.
But
so this stress and trauma impacts us hugely through our lives. If we can work with it, we become better versions of ourselves, and we feed that energy out to everyone and everything else. Yeah. And it's part of my fascination with stress and trauma, I never thought, if you'd asked me when I was 39 or said you're going to work with that, I would have gone, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. Hold on one second. I'm just going to pause it for a little bit.
Sure.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. So do you have anything that you've definitely, I mean, you covered so much good information, and I've learned some stuff from you as well. So I know that there's people out here that could benefit from your work for sure. So do you have any like, I guess, closing wisdom you would like to give our audience?
Sure. So one of the things is try and complete your body-based stress cycle regularly, daily. So get out and do exercise that mimics fighting and fleeing to wear up the resources you've produced, like those animals that didn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
Tremor, whether it's laughter or crying, or learn how to do something like trauma-releasing exercises, which are healthy and safe. Get a deeper understanding of what's happening within you so that you can understand it. Help to trauma-proof your kids by letting them cry and keeping it safe for them. So we now say to work with children, you should regulate, then relate, then rationalise. And before you can do that with your child, you have to regulate yourself. So it might be if you're getting really cranky because your child is doing something you don't want them to do, take a few steps away, do your breathing and down-regulate yourself as much as you can. So you're coming to them not hypercharged and energetic. You're coming here and you're inviting them to come down and meet you down here in this calmer space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's all about completing the body-based stress cycle for this initial part. And then that opens you up for healing childhood wounds, for growing yourself on all sorts of levels around that spiral, that infinite spiral of learning and resourcing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I love that. It's definitely good information. I know for me, I used to get triggered, and I still feel the trigger sometimes, but I don't react like I used to. But like
you're always going to get triggered. You can't stop that. You've got a healthy, functioning amygdala. It's going to be there till the day you die.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like hearing him whine, or if he like whines really loud.
Because you're tuned.
It would trigger me.
I've got to do something about it, but I'm really busy over here. Yeah.
And then now I'm able to actually, like, as soon as it happens, I'll take some deep breaths.
Very good. Yeah. So that you can be as down-regulated as possible to invite him back into a regulated space, but also letting him go through that process.
Mm-hmm.
And sitting next to him and keeping it safe for him to cry.
Yeah.
Which is, at his age, that's his primary way of down-regulating his nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And my son is he is a very sensitive boy too. So I'm not, and I'm allowing him, like, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be sad.
Yeah.
I feel sad, mommy.
Yeah, you're sad sometimes, sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to cry? Have a little cry it out. It's all good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what were you going to say?
He'll grow up into a beautifully functioning man. He'll be one of the gorgeous men.
I know. Yeah. Because we need more men, because I know most men have been conditioned to basically like hide their emotions and man up.
All of that. And as I said, that's a survival approach. We've got to move everyone into a thriving approach. And that doesn't mean we don't do survival skills, but we're aware when we're doing them and we get rid of those survival skills as soon as it's safe to do so.
When we need to, yeah.
Like, I reckon all of our military should be taught, suck it up, get out there, do what you need to do. Now come back. Now we're going to all tremor. You can cry, you can laugh, or you can do this sort of tremoring, and we're going to do belly breathing, and we're going to do mindfulness, and we're going to come back in here and be like that.
Oh my God, that would be so amazing. You know what I just thought of too when you just said that? So I used to teach Marines martial arts and force fitness, and it was like the big, I feel like this was actually a big step for the Marine Corps to even teach the force fitness, because it started, it basically started implementing like proper ways to warm up, proper ways to cool down, and even foam rolling, like taking care of your body. And adding this to that would be perfect.
It would, wouldn't it? And as a last little one in there, apparently the Japanese samurai used to use tremoring to wind themselves up into a battle state. And then afterwards, they'd use tremoring to come back down into a loving, connected state so they could go home to their families.
Oh, wow.
They used it all the time.
Right. That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Isn't
And
it? No.
I've always, I've always been a big martial arts fan, just having been a Marine. So
Yeah.
interesting to know.
Yeah. So this tremoring, you can use it for increasing your stamina and your capacity as well. So it's not, so when our nervous system is fine, we have access to more resources.
Yeah. No, that's definitely so.
Yeah. So it's not just about stress and trauma. It's actually about accessing all of our resources in a healthy way. Yeah.
That actually, I know we're like past the time I usually go, but that just reminded me of something that happened to me earlier this year after I've done a lot of work on myself already. This was the first time I was in a situation that I wasn't sure how to get out of. And I freaked out at first, and then I calmed myself down, knowing to like calm down, breathe. And then I asked myself, I was like, how do I get out of this situation? And I just sat and waited, and then a visual came.
Yep.
And that day, there was an extra phone in my car, in my makeup bag that I never have in my car. And so when I got to that phone, I saw it, like I saw the visual of it in my car, and I didn't even realize I had put it in there that day. And I was able to call to get my phone and like get out, because it was crazy though. It was interesting. Like I was like, wow, like this is what it means to be able to like, to access the quantum field and like get the information that you need.
Yes, that. Yeah. Yep. Because again, you have difficulty connecting to the quantum field if you're overwhelmed and stuck. Yeah. You've got to come in somehow and that space. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, where can people find you if they want to work with you?
Certainly. I'm online. So my website is from surviving the number 2 thriving.com.au. I will email it to you so you could possibly put it up there. I have it on. Hey?
I was going to say, I'll put everything in the description as well.
Okay. Yeah, so there's my website. I do online. I do most of my sessions via Zoom, so I can see people individually. But I also run a 12-week course that has pre-recorded content about understanding stress and trauma and teaching you how to down-regulate your nervous system. And it includes one session a week live in a Zoom session as a group, because I know best healing happens in community. So with each of these courses, we create a little community, then they roll into the larger community after that. So my first course is Stress to Bliss, and the one that I'm currently recording is called From Then to Now, and it's looking at all the things like childhood trauma, and it goes a lot more deeply. Once you're embodied and empowered, then you need to be able to work with all the old wounds that the completing your body-based stress process will get to eventually, but it's also good if we have some cognitive work with that. So I'm available online anywhere in the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay.
I get a bit passionate about helping people move from survival into thriving.
Into thriving. I love it. I think that's definitely the goal now is because, like you said, it's been too many years of survival. So
that's it. We've come out of thousands of years of it. But if we're going to live long, healthy lives, we've got to learn how to thrive in ourselves, and then we can help everyone else to thrive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. I do ask one closing wisdom question to everyone at the end. So that question is just basically like, if you were to find one truth about our divinity, what would that truth be?
That one truth about divinity is perfected love, unconditional love. We chose to come out of that because something that's perfect can't change. And by coming out and experiencing all these stresses and traumas and things and working with them, we actually feed more unconditional love back up into the divine. And that's how the divine grows.
Yeah, I love that answer. Okay. All right. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on to the show today, and you definitely had a lot of good knowledge. So thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Sonya, and good luck with this, and particularly working with, soldiers. I love that you're doing that sort of work.
Yeah, I definitely plan on, reaching out even more to the veteran community in my area as well, and start like doing basically speaking engagements and workshops and stuff like that. So
yeah,
definitely hoping to make a difference.
Yeah. And so I want to also say, if you have a group of people who'd like to do my course, I will tailor it specifically for them, and we run it as a group.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm open to that as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, we can definitely talk about that. For sure. Okay, well, we can end it on that note.
Sure.
And you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. And you have a great evening.